is a Going Back, Remembering UGA interview with Dr. Elizabeth C. Aderhold, conducted by Fran on June 13, 2006. Today we're visiting with Dr. Aderhold at home at Talmadge Terrace on River Hill Drive in Athens, Georgia. Thank you for being with us today, Dr. Aderhold.
Thank you.
Or I guess I should say thank you for letting us be with you today. Why don't we just begin in the beginning and ask you to tell us a little bit about your family and your growing up years.
Well, I was a member of a very special family. My parents were just tremendously leaders in every way they could be, both mother and father. And I had a brother who was in the Army. So we were all close and closely related and closely into things.
Let's talk a little bit about Dr. O.C. Aderhold and his wife Bess. And of course, Dr. Aderhold was the 14th president of the University of Georgia?
Yes.
I know that you must have education in your genes because obviously both of them were so profoundly involved in education. I know Dr. Aderhold started as a teacher of agriculture, is that right? Then was a principal, superintendent of schools?
Yes. He was the ag teacher at Jefferson Martin Institute, and Mother was the home ec teacher. That's how they met, though they had some schooling kind of together, but they didn't know each other very well in Athens. But they met in Jefferson.
And married. Wow.
And married, and then moved to Athens, and had been here forever.
And so he moved and was on the faculty of the College of Education, is that right?
Yes, he got advanced degrees. His doctorate was from Ohio State, and but he was on the faculty here.
Was named Dean of the College of Education in 1946, I think I read.
Yeah, that's right.
And then shortly thereafter, what happened? About 4 years later, in 1950.
That's right. He became president.
President of the University of Georgia. And your mother, I understand, also had an interest in, was it nutrition?
Yes, in home economics. And she always managed any kind of party that was going on. She could manage it.
A wonderful hostess. Did I read something about her receiving a master's degree early on?
Yes. After they married, she went on to get a master's. So it's master's in home economics. And
one of the earliest ones that was given to a woman, I understand.
I believe so.
Okay. Let's talk about some times Dr. O.C. Aderhold was president from 1950 to 1967, and lots of things happened during those times. Are there some things that you remember vividly that you'd like to?
Well, it was quite a trying time, in particular looking back over it, you can see how important a time that it was. But Dad was able to hang in there. He was not a complainer. He just wrote it through.
There were several things that I found that I know he was involved with. I know that the Georgia Center for Continuing Education started during his time. Do you remember any of the
what?
The Georgia Center for Continuing Education?
Yes,
do you remember any of
he did that. He brought that in on campus.
The folks from the Kellogg Center?
Yes.
Were part of that, right?
Oh, yes.
Talk to us a little bit about, you and I had chatted earlier, a little bit about the Iron Horse.
Oh, that was quite a product of one of the artists on campus. And it created such a stir with all the students and maybe some Athenians too, that there was quite a to do about the horse, and it finally had to be taken away off the campus.
So it was a statue that somebody, or a piece of artwork?
It was a statue. Oh yes, iron statue.
And was life size. I mean, it was huge, life size, right?
Yeah.
Was there, as I recall, there was discussion of a actual riot going on?
Oh yes. They were wanting to move the horse off the campus, and so making a big to-do. All of the students on campus were doing it, and all kinds of creativity activities that went on with that. Oh, they would try to burn it. And,
do you remember?
They do sawhorses in imitation and do all kinds of crazy things.
Do you remember what the conclusion of that was?
What?
The conclusion of that, of the Iron Horse, what happened?
It went out on a farm. Oh yeah.
Out in Greene County, wasn't it?
Greene County, and it's still evidence out there. I've seen it, but I would love to see it again. It's in a beautiful, protected place.
Okay. Talk a little bit about Sapelo Island. Do you remember your father's working on the Sapelo Island project?
Yes. That was R.J. Reynolds' property at the time, and it was important to get that land and all of the the workers and professors to go down to work on Sapelo Island. Reynolds deeded it, or let the university use it, at least, until finally, I think his third wife sold it to the state.
Was that?
But I know at the time that we would visit, if the Reynolds were not there, we stayed in the mansion. So
Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about Sapelo and the mansion.
Elegant mansion that the Reynolds had. It was a historic mansion down there, and it's still the leading building on the on Sapelo. But we enjoyed going down and seeing going through the service and going out on the boat and everything else. We enjoyed it, and we would stay at Sapelo in the building.
How did you get to Sapelo?
Oh, drove.
You could drive? You didn't have to get on a boat?
Until we got the boat.
Right. Okay. Let's go back a minute and talk a little bit about life in the president's home and what it was like. How old were you when you all moved in, and what did the house look like?
Well, I was 15 and thought I was pretty old. But I learned a few things. Well, it was, had some experiences that I was surprised to have. My upstairs bedroom, which was a Benjamin Harvey Hill bed, was used for all guests for women to leave coats and pocketbooks and whatever. So nothing could be done by me in going to sleep or studying or anything until the whole party had closed and everybody was gone.
So you stayed up late a lot, huh?
Oh, very definitely so, to 2 and 3 in the morning sometimes.
You mentioned Benjamin Harvey Hill, and that the house was built by Mr. Grant,
Hill.
but Mr. Hill bought the house after the war between the states, right?
Yes, yes.
Tell us a little bit about Mr. Hill.
Well, I'm not too familiar with his background, but he was from Georgia and came over like a lot of people in that day and time, came to Athens to be associated with the university and to put children through school and be around.
He was a famous politician of the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, they all, so the family built the homes usually for their children to come live. No dormitories.
Right. Not early on, certainly.
We've changed on that.
Talk a little bit about, I know after, prior to your moving in, how did the university get the president's home? Do you remember how the president's home came to be?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think I remember the W.C. Bradley Foundation.
Bradley's. Gave the home to the university.
And then were you all involved in the renovation at all, or was that done before you got there?
It was done right before we moved in. A year's leave of absence right in there between presidents.
I know you saw many fabulous events in the president's home, because I know, as we have mentioned, your mother was a wonderful hostess. And
yes.
What kind of interesting people did you meet who came into the house?
So many groups wanted to come. Mm-hmm. We had them, the 1,000 people several times a week, practically. And then individual leads.
Right.
All during the time. In football games, I tell you, did we ever have parties for the football group at that time?
Did they start on Friday night and go right on through Saturday, I guess, huh?
I know it. It's a big time.
Let's talk a little bit about your life on campus as an undergrad. Let me back up a minute.
As an undergraduate, well, I was majoring in history and enjoyed it very much, and kept up with that group too.
You were a history major. You finished in history?
Undergraduate. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But later your interest became psychology.
Both master's and doctorate, and education postdoc.
Talk a little bit about some of the traditions. We talked earlier. You wore a rat cap?
Oh, definitely.
Didn't walk under the arch?
No. I obeyed all of the rules and regulations.
Talk a little bit about other traditions that you remember. We talked about the Shirttail Parade. Describe for us what the Shirttail Parade was.
Well, it was a march of the guys on campus wearing a shirt tail through the campus onto Prince and out prints to some indie point. And we could always watch it from the president's home, watch the parade.
So shirttail and no pants, right? Just shirttail hanging out.
Just shirttail.
I have never heard how that got started. You have no idea how that started, do you? Just an old-time tradition. Talk about Greek life a little bit, Bebe.
Of what?
Greek life. Being a member of a sorority, or what you remember of the social life on campus.
Well, it was very important to a lot of people. And I enjoyed being a member of the sorority, and that kept me in touch with my age group, because otherwise I wouldn't. That forced me to have to attend to and learn their problems and all. So I think it was a wonderful experience. And then the non-sorority and fraternity group too became active in that, and often we entertained them at president's receptions and all. And it was a way of creating a closeness to them, to everybody.
Right. You finished undergraduate school.
What?
You finished undergraduate school and then went immediately into graduate school?
Then I started in on psychology and tried to take advantage of all that they offered.
Did you let's go back and talk a little bit about the mentors that we had talked earlier. I know your father and mother were wonderful influences in your life, but then you mentioned several other people who were influences too. Talk about those a little bit for us.
Well, one star that I can remember from almost birth on, Margaret McFall, who's head of the nursery school here. And then a person that I knew, graduate area and beyond, Florian Young. And then,
I think you mentioned Miss Sutton.
who was
Rachel Sutton.
Yes, she was my first official boss in the College of Ed.
Right.
But she'd been a friend almost all my life too.
So those were good role models and good bosses, right?
Really? Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that Ms. McFall kept turning up in your life. Talk a little bit about that.
The what?
That Ms. McFall kept turning up in your life at different places. Talk a little bit about that.
Quite a bit. She was one of the second nursery school teacher that I taught. When I was about 2 years old, she accepted me into her program. I think I was still one of the first, youngest there. And then, she was a sorority member and an active person in the sorority at the same time. And then I had my first graduate course was a combination of Florian Young and Margaret McFall. And I can remember Florian Young doing testing when I was in preschool, coming over to the nursery school to test. And Margaret was instructing me how to go up, and that I needed to be nice and play any games that she wanted me to play.
Dr. Young was a professor of psychology, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Psychology. Mm-hmm.
So there was something about Dr. Young and Ms. McFall that got you moving in the direction of psychology, right?
That really did. That seemed to be very important.
Okay. So they would be the mentors in your life?
Yes, yeah, I'd say that.
Have I heard that you were the first woman to receive a PhD in psychology at the University of Georgia?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. But I did receive one, so.
Now, talk to us about your after you finished undergraduate school, sort of what came next. You started a graduate school immediately, is that right?
Yeah, I had a master's and a research assistant and a school psychologist. And then I came on back for a doctorate in psychology. And then I had a year of postdoc at the University of Illinois.
Talk to us a little bit about being in Savannah. That was your first job after your master's degree or after your undergrad?
Master's.
Talk to us a little bit about going to Savannah and your experience there.
Well, I don't know. I was heading more into education than I realized, and they needed somebody. It was a new experience for them to open up and provide services for the preschool. Well, for anybody in special education. So I went down to do the testing.
So you were working in special ed at that time, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you came back and got your graduate and began work on your doctorate.
Yeah.
And your doctorate was also in psychology, though it was not in special ed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Talk to us a little bit about, I know you came on back and joined the faculty, and you came back and joined the faculty here.
Yes, yes I did.
And what was your function here with the faculty? What was your job?
Well, elementary education, and I've just stayed with that as, in early childhood as a focus. Might be going down the ladder, you might say, age-wise, but it was part of the program, and the governor wanted the 5-year-olds to come in to the schools, so they had to be trained, and I pitched in and helped do some of that. But I also had the teachers of the upper elementary in my courses because they were interested in getting more to them. So I would be teaching them about early childhood and how to relate to children younger than the ones that they were actually involved in. So that was my grad focus.
So you also worked with young teachers, going out to see how young teachers or student teachers were doing in the schools, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
I did that, and also I taught courses all over the state.
Sort of an outreach kind of a program?
An outreach from the university. They all now had their own programs, but I did taught in Augusta, Savannah, Waycross, Milledgeville, Macon, Fort Valley, Dahlonega. I've served the state.
You did. You covered the state. You were an early supporter, an early advocate of Head Start, is that right? You felt like the Head Start
Definitely.
program was a... Talk to us a little bit about the Head Start program, please, ma'am.
The what?
The Head Start program. Explain it to us like we don't...
Well, there were a lot of people getting on the bandwagon at that time, a lot of professional people. So I wanted to learn about it and find out more. So I was involved with the Barida Engelman program in the University of Illinois. And I was able to see all facets of Head Start, all the meetings with different creators of Head Start programs